and you're a moron, but thanks for the $5.
Zale, see you, Zale. Johnny Mac roasted. All right, Johnny Mac, we got about 10 minutes until 12 minutes until Chris Franklin gets here. We will see what he has to say about all the moves and the changes. Real quick, I'm going to talk to you, John, about the cornerback position. Is Kelee Ringo ready, Johnny Mac?
No idea, but that's the plan. That's the plan. It's been the plan for a while. And I do think, the success of Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean sort of broke some people. The assumption that, oh, you got to come in and hit the ground running. Like there's nothing wrong with being a fourth round pick that's 20 years old that, hey, he sits his first year, he learns under Darius Slay and James Bradbury, and then the second year he becomes your best special teams player, and then the third year you say, hey, your time's up. Let's see if you can be a starting cornerback in the NFL. That's more traditional than what happened last year with those two players. But everybody, microwave culture. We went through this with Nolan Smith. How many people were saying Nolan Smith this guy sucks? And then he's one of the best defensive players.
For it, and you were right. I was out. I thought he was not gonna ever get there, and he did. Man, he did. He really turned the corner.
Yeah, he's one of the best defense. And hey, you wouldn't even know it if Brandon Graham didn't get hurt, and Bryce Huff didn't get hurt, because he probably wouldn't have gotten the opportunity. Sometimes you just need the opportunity. But I mean, he's got to prove it on the field. And, it might be Eli Ricks. Everybody forget, nobody mentioned Eli Ricks anymore. They kept that guy around for 2 years for a reason. They think he could be a good cover corner. So they have young options, and the hope is competition makes them better. And don't underestimate learning under Slay and Bradbury, who are two very, very savvy players. That helps. So, yeah, I mean, that's not the worst plan in the world. Say, all right, I got a cornerback who's going to be 35. The history of cornerbacks is not great at that age. And we got a young guy that we drafted. He sat for 2 years. His time is now. That's the trick. When do you turn the page? That's the trick. But as far as anybody saying, "Oh, I know he's going to be great," or "I know he's going to be suck," or "I know he's going to suck," they're lying to you. Nobody knows. How would you know? He hasn't played, hasn't proven it.
I think he has upside. I just don't know.
Oh, he's got everything you need from physical standpoint.
Yeah, right. I know, but I just don't know if it's the right plan for a team that is in a Super Bowl window and you're trying to repeat. I know you're going to have some change and you're going to have to prevail, but I don't know if that's the right plan there to slot him in. Do you think they will bring in more competition for him? I thought Isaiah Rodgers might be a good one to bring in for competition. Obviously, that ship has sailed. Do you expect them to do something? Maybe even, John, we talked about Benjamin Morrison in the draft. Maybe that's more likely. With all these guys going, you got to continue to get younger on that defensive side of the ball, have young rookie contracts, especially with some of the names coming up. Maybe that's an option as a free agent.
I mean, to me, it would be you're going to bring in more of a vet if you bring in somebody. I mean, to me, now you've signaled, all right, you're going to need a defensive end or an edge rusher. You're going to need an interior defensive lineman. You're going to need a tight end. You're going to need. You can't afford. You already have young players. Ringo, Ricks. Now you're throwing Benjamin Morrison in the mix if he falls because of an injury, and then there's injury concerns. Now, this is a later signing to me. You bring in, some kind of veteran, maybe after June 1st, maybe after the first wave, just as sort of a safety net that I thought Isaiah Rodgers would provide. But again, not a 34-year-old. I don't want Stephon Gilmore. They're losing Darius Slay. You're not losing Darius Slay to bring in Stephon Gilmore. I don't want Rasul Douglas because you know his name. But there's plenty of corners that can be competent. Think about when they signed James Bradbury originally. Now everybody forgets about James Bradbury's 2022. He was a late signing, and he turns into a second-team All-Pro. Free agency isn't over after day one. And the Eagles will certainly bring in competition.
Yep, we'll see what they end up doing. Doing there is Eli Ricks. You think he has a chance to win that job? I know he has a little bit more experience, or has at least some experience on that outside corner in the NFL. Is he a viable option, or is that just kind of a depth piece that'll probably be on the roster this year?
I mean, I find it hard to believe. I don't think he's physical enough. Like, he doesn't have the skill set that Ringo has.
Right.
But he can cover, and he's got ball skills. So, if you're willing to, and people like splash plays, he might be, if he ever turns into a starter, he might be a 5 interception guy that can't tackle Zander Krause, that kind of guy. Some people like that. I don't think Big Fangio will like it. So I'm going to lean towards no with Ricks, but they do have this fascination with him that I haven't understood for 2 years. So they like something about him, because it's hard to reason why he was on this team for 2 years. And the reason is because they think he has something that is hard to find. And it's obviously his ball skills.
We'll see what they end up doing at that position, John. A little turnover there, turnover at the edge, turnover on the defensive tackle position. It is a lot. I mean, obviously there's going to be turnover on a team, and I think your core is still in place with everybody. So I think you're in a good shape. I do think it's an interesting thing what they're going to do at that corner spot. If Slay is still out there, and maybe he's not going to the Steelers, I still say bring him back. 1 year, $8 million. Will that get it done? Maybe it won't. I don't know. I would do it if it was out there.
Oh, who? By the way, who I think is a really good player that signed with somebody in the division?
Okay, who's that?
Because you would ask me earlier. I was just Paulson Adebo.
Ooh, I saw that. He went to the Giants, right? Yeah.
Good now, he was hurt last year, but he can cover, man. He can cover at a high level. Now, he got 3 years, $18 million with 36 fully guaranteed. So, and the Giants are the Giants, but I think that guy can play. And then Odenigbo, which another Bears guy, I think he can play. Edge rusher. And he got a 3-year, $48 million deal with $32 million guaranteed from the Bears. That sounds like a lot, but that ain't a lot for an edge rusher if an edge rusher performs. And I think he can play. So those are two of the best, I think, free agent signings. Trying to go down the list. Those are my two favorite ones, because you brought up Poona Ford, which I think that's a good one for the fit what the Rams need.
Yeah, that's why I like Poona Ford. I know he's not like a crazy splash player, but I do like him for the fit on that defensive line.
I also like Ryan Kelee, who's older, and I rarely like older players, but he's like a 5-time Pro Bowl. He's a really good player. And the Vikings have been so bad at center for so many years. And because they drafted Garrett Bradbury in the first round, like in a long time ago, and they just never wanted to admit, hey, we screwed this one up. And they just keep playing him and playing him and playing him, and he keeps getting quarterbacks killed. And they finally got a guy who can play. So I think that's a positive.
Good stuff there, Johnny Mac. John, we're going to talk to Chris Franklin coming up here in a second on the show. I'm going to get one more super chat here from Brian Pumper, who's relentless. Brian, what's up, brother? He says, fanboys, y'all the kids in line for register, and I'm Pops. Can I have Garrett, Crosby, Pitts? We have Jalix, Morrow, and Johnny W. at home. Boy, it's a good thing you're not the GM. I'll tell you that, Brian Pumper, because you're on a generational run of.
I don't think Brian's learning from his mistakes. Yeah. They're doubling down.
If Pumper was the GM, we would have Tanner McKee as your starting quarterback. We would have gotten rid of AJ Brown. We would have gotten rid of a bunch of other great players and slotted in Johnny Wilson to be your starting tight end. How's that team look, everybody? Good time to thank Howie Roseman, all right, for the work he's done. So good job by Howie Roseman. Interesting to see how the free agency has progressed to this point. It was a crazy day in the NFL world yesterday, and I think it'll be another crazy day today. A little bit less crazy, obviously, with some less names, but we'll see who the Eagles do. John, any targets in day 2 here you think the Eagles could go for?
Oh, boy. Let me check my list. Yeah, somebody who would you talk about cornerback, somebody who would excite the fan base is Asante Samuel Jr., but he can't tackle either. So I don't think that's realistic. I've talked about Draymond Jones, so I expect that to happen any day now. So that's one.
You think he's gonna be here, or is that you said that was?
No, I think he's gonna be here because of his history with Vic.
Okay. You said that with a little confidence, Johnny Mac. I'm reading the tea leaves.
Azeez Ojulari is a guy I've mentioned as a potential. He's only 25 years old. Another Georgia guy, so he'll fit right in. I think he might be in a cost-effective signing. Because remember, they're also playing the compensatory pick game, and they don't want big splashy signings that will affect. Milton Williams will be a 3rd rounder. Josh will probably be a 4th rounder, depending on the contracts that are handed out. But there's not going to be too many more significant contracts handed out. So those are the 2 guys offhand, I would think. And then when you start thinking about 1 year guys, then it becomes much more open-minded. Start thinking about older players, but that's for later in the process, I would say.
Yeah, we'll see how it works. So we talked about a couple of the options out there. Yes, Kyle Juszczyk. No, not interested. Azeez Ojulari. I do like John. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the offseason together. I like that fit, and he's a young player. We'll see if he would be someone they target. We mentioned Asante Samuel Jr. Can't tackle, but I know people like him. And then you mentioned Draymond.
If they're going for a younger corner, Christian Fulton is the guy I would focus on more than Asante Samuel Jr.
Better fit with Vic.
Yeah, better fit, better corner, better fit.
Is it Christian or is it just Christian?
Well, it's
spelled with a K, but is it just Christian?
It's probably just Christian.
Might be. Who knows? I know we're trying to be accurate here. All right, Johnny Mac, good stuff. Let's get to a commercial break, and we'll get to Chris Franklin, who's supposed to join us here at 9:20. We will see if we get Chris Franklin up. Big thanks to everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button in the chat. Appreciate all of you guys. A crazy March free agency week in the NFL. We love the NFL because they always give us something. So here we are, a busy week in the offseason, a fun week in the offseason. So enjoy it, everybody. All the news coming in like crazy. Hit that like button. We're only at 124 likes, which is just pitiful. We got to get that number way up. And there's Chris Franklin, who just joined the green room. So we'll get to him in a couple of minutes here on Birds 365. Before we get to him, let me tell you guys about the great people at BetUS. Go check them out. Use the promo code YouTube150. Gives you a 150% sign-up bonus on your very first deposit. You get 125% on your second and third deposit, all up to $2,000 to deposit less and bet with more at BetUS. Go to betus.com.pa. That's betus.com.pa. We'll be right back in 3 minutes on Birds 365.
The following is a real testimonial from the father of a young injured victim.